Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty, fresh take on politics. And wow, we got a crazy show tonight. I've actually figured out how this AI chat thing works. So we're going to be doing a little bit of that tonight. We got Michael Paul Hart, City County Councilor. I believe he's in District 20. I hope that was right. But they've moved him all around, and he's won re-election. So he is one of the hardest working councilmen I think we have in Indianapolis, and he's always looking to improve things. And I think he has it in his sights to improve city procedures with AI. Ooh, but I'll tell you, some folks may not think that's the greatest idea. What if it's in the government? What could go wrong? I'm sure that's what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do some fun stuff tonight. So I'm going to put up my little GPT chat thing here. I'm going to ask it a question real quick here. Let's see how the if we were to use AI for Michael tonight. Let's see how that would work here. Let's put it up here. Okay, I'm going to put it down here in the chat bar. Here's my question. Introduce Michael Paul Hart on the Mouthwash Talk Show, who is going to tell us how AI is going to be used in the government. So you push the little button, and here we go. Well, there you go. That's a little that's a little bit more than I usually do, but I think that is like really cool. It just automatically tells us that Michael Hart is the man here. He's just great. He's renowned. He's renowned for these things. And I think that's just awesome there. So, who knows? Maybe they'll replace the entire Mouthwash show with AI, and then you won't have to listen to me. It'll just tell you all that stuff, and we'll get good. So, without any further ado, I think that was in there. Without any further ado, let's bring on Michael Hart and see how he's doing tonight. Michael, how are you this evening?
Oh, fantastic. I like the intro, renowned strategist. I believe I read it there really quick.
They must be spying on you to know that. They got your phone and say, now I did put in something about, will Tiffany and Bigfoot ever get married? And they didn't know either Tiffany or Bigfoot. So at least you're known well enough that you have some comments from AI. So Michael, have you been on the show before? I think you have, haven't you?
I think this is my second or third appearance.
Yeah. And your political career's not been ruined yet. I think you're really our litmus test for somebody who can survive the Mouthwash show. So Michael, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what the heck you're doing on the Mouthwash show.
Absolutely. So you were correct. It is District 20. So my name is Michael Paul Hart, City County Councilor here in Indianapolis. Until the end of the year, I will represent District 18. And then at the beginning of the year, January 1st, I will represent District 20. So what is District 20? There's 25 of them. I am the southeast side of Indianapolis. So my district goes as north as 21st Street and goes as south as Troy Avenue and as far east as Carroll Road, which is the East County Line Road, and as west as Emerson. So I've got a nice array of constituents, all sorts of folks of backgrounds in that district, and they have, with confidence, selected me to represent them for 4 more years.
Wow, that's it's a job, isn't it? I mean, at least they raised your pay a little bit. I mean, and you voted against it and you still get it. That's how you do it. That's how politics is done, people. That's how you do it. Let's get into this AI thing. I'm going to go ahead and bring on the panel here. Let's see. You're going out in the middle. Not me. You are. There you go. Now we're going to let's bring on our guest tonight, taking over for Tiffany. Tiffany couldn't make it. She's up in Fishers playing politics of her own. They were, what did they do? They took their oath of office tonight, and then she's having a little reception afterwards. So we got the famous Slick Whitty in the house. Mr. Slick, how are you tonight?
Tremendous. How are you doing tonight?
I know you're chomping at the bit to ask some AI questions, so I thought you'd be a very good replacement. Ray Peck, he was ready to get up in the lineup, so it's popular to be on the panel here. So let's go ahead and bring on Brad. Brad's got, I just want to warn you right now, Brad's got a new thing going here. So, here, Brad, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay, John. I did this over the weekend and I kind of forgot that I did it, but the looks I've been getting from people has been pretty hilarious. Cause it's like, the hell are you doing? Kind of a thing.
You look like you're going to either be in a rockabilly band, or you're, the guy on X-Men, the Wolverine.
No, I told like we were talking earlier. I think Cornelius Vanderbilt, like
Vanderbilt. Yes,
he's
please.
got those giant chops.
Yes. He's quite sophisticated. Now let's bring on Lucy. Lucy's in her car.
Yes.
And she's live. Now, where are you stranded? I mean, where are you located?
I'm broadcasting from an undisclosed location.
Yeah, don't let them know.
Yeah,
This is
I can't let them know.
It
Let
is
the
AI.
ATF know.
They'll track you down. But we're glad to have the whole group here tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some questions about AI. And Lucy, I'm going to let you start it out here because I know you're skeptical about anything that the government wants to do.
I appreciate that. Michael, welcome. It's great to see you again. Here's what I would like to ask you directly. Have there been any discussions at all in the Indianapolis City Council about AI? And if so, has anyone proposed that AI in any form be used to govern Indianapolis citizens?
So to the first question, the only discussion we've had is creating a study commission. So to the second question, no, there has been no proposals yet. So what the first proposal, I guess you could say, around AI was to create a study commission to learn about the processes of AIs and how it can impact city government, both in a positive and negative way. And so that was proposal 362, which I introduced back in November, then passed in December. So that's as far as we've gotten so far.
Okay, that's so. I'm going to ask a follow up on
Take
that.
your stuff out of the paper.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have that when they're live. So, and where do you think that's going to go? Do you think there's going to be something that's going to be implemented in some of the procedures?
So here's the interesting part. So here's how it started. Let me just kind of rewind it back a little bit, right? To say, why did this even come up? Why are we having this conversation? And it's because in my day job, I work in IT all day long. And for the last 6 to 9 months, that's anything anybody wants to talk about is how do we add AI to business procedures? How do we bring this in to make us more efficient, make us more profitable, right? That's the private industry conversation that's happening. So I took the opportunity to go knock on the door of Colin Hill, who is our Chief Information Officer for the city of Indianapolis. And I said, Colin, what are we doing with AI? What is the plan? Where are we at? And he said, we're not anywhere. We don't have anything implemented. We've thought about it. We've had people coming in from various organizations telling us all these things it can do, but we don't have any processes in place. And actually, as a matter of fact, one of the things that he recently actually had passed, so there's a technology board also with the city of Indianapolis that's separate from the city council. There's lots of boards, but on that board, they actually pass all the contracts for technology purchases. They also put in any policies for the city. And most recently, they actually passed a policy for acceptable. To me, it reads like an acceptable use policy, but they've got another name for it. But basically, ways to use AI in the city if they were to be used in the future. Not that anything is used today, but as a way to kind of protect them in the future. So that's as far as they've got from a policy standpoint. So I said, okay, you've got all this, but let's go a little bit farther. Where are you planning to go? And I've been talking to folks, in my private world of business to say, what are other cities doing? What can we do? And they were giving me some ideas. And I said, well, what was the process that you took to even implement some of these things? And they started talking about task forces. And I said, well, we don't have a task force mechanism in Indianapolis, but I know we have commissions because back in 2020, we had a sustainability commission. And I actually sat on that. I was the Republican appointee on the Environmental Sustainability Commission. And I learned about this framework. So I said to Colin, I said, hey, how about we create a commission to study the development of artificial intelligence for the city of Indianapolis so we can prepare for the future before we just start throwing out proposals or putting in any sort of new technologies without actually vetting them first. He said he loved the idea, said he would be a stakeholder and would love to sit on the commission. And that's what kind of moved all of this forward to at least initially give me as a counselor some buy-in from the city side to then be able to move forward and get support from the other side of the aisle so we could start actually studying the different types of AI and how they're being used elsewhere and how we could potentially use them in the city.
All right, that's great. Okay, I'm going to get to Slick Whitty in a second, but I'm going to go back to the magic chat board here. So bear with me while I shift the gears here. That's not it. Oh, I got to do this part. I got to bring that on. There we go. All right, so let's do it this way, so we can all see it at the same time. So I'm going to put in here a comment that maybe that you would have. Let me get rid of this one first. Delete that chat. We already did that one. So let's go with hey, how to get a building permit. Let's see this. Help me get a building permit. Let's see it. Is that what you're talking about? Something like that? I mean, we're not going to read all that, but it's very interesting how quickly that thing spit it out. And I read over it, and it was pretty accurate on how that process works. So is that something what you're looking at as far as helping people figure out stuff, or am I off base?
What you just used is called it's a generative type of AI, right? It's generating content for you. It's generating feedback to your question. The other types of generative AI are, you see like the pictures that are created, and people are doing cute things with that, and then they're doing very, very bad things with that, right? So that is, when I like to describe that, it's at the top of the spectrum. If you had a top right of a quadrant and a bottom left of a quadrant, that top right is the most advanced, most sophisticated algorithms that generate content, right? That's saying, hey, I'm John, put me in a business pose, give me a headshot, and make me look 30 years younger, right? It can generate that picture. However, that, again, top right of that spectrum. Bottom left of the spectrum, right, is what we call robotic process automation, also referred to as an acronym RPAs. So those RPAs are what are mostly used today in the world of, when people say AI, it's generally small bits of script that take sets of data and either consolidate that data sets for other uses in the future, or it's just running a basic script to make somebody a little bit more efficient. And then everywhere in between that spectrum, you get more advanced. Whether you're using, where we could take this conversation, right, where I think the big concerns are is when cameras start getting involved, right, and where you start getting more advanced and start doing alerts and things of that nature. When it comes to your example for the permitting process, where it could be used is in that it mentioned wait, right? There was submit your process and wait. And I don't know how many times I get emails, phone calls, text messages as a counselor saying, hey, I've submitted this thing. And it's just like, I threw it into the ether and I have no idea what's going on, right? So one, in terms of feedback to the applicant of where that process is standing, but also imagine this AI scripting the RPAs as basically a bot in the middle, right? Being air traffic controller of this permit through the process, because that's only like a top level view of actually what came through there. When you're submitting your permit, you're submitting your design plans, you're submitting that for approval, it's getting second level approval also from different agencies at time, third-party agencies. It has to come back to you as for modifications, has to go back again. All of those back and forth, that's what really holds up. And John, more than anybody, what holds up the whole permitting process is that there's no real air traffic controller saying, your turn, do this, do that. So that's one, small little robotic process automation standpoint where we're not really even, I mean, if you're looking at privacy, I mean, you may have somebody's permit information, their email address, their phone number, and who they are that submitted it. But you're not really getting into some really deep level PII, or what we call as personal identifiable information. You're not really getting into that yet. But to your point, and some of the things I mentioned earlier, the camera stuff, which I think is what most people are concerned about when we talk about this stuff. But that is how it can apply at a bottom level of the spectrum.
All right. Well, I know that someone that is concerned. It's Mr. Slick Whitty. I mean, he was one that was vehement no on the government. So now's your chance. You got the spotlight. What do you got to say?
Well, first off, I want to congratulate you on your re-election. I was following yours pretty closely along with the entire cities, and you had a very tough re-election. So congrats on that. So, like my old grandpappy used to say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I think this is a clear example of that. What scares me the most is the lack of oversight for the future. I mean, you kind of already touched on it about the cameras. We already have plate readers. So, say you put something in the AI, I'm looking for a blank person with blank long hair, this color, around this weight. Then they're looking for everybody. And I've already been paying attention to the city council meetings. Not long ago, I saw that the Parks Committee, they approved like millions of dollars for cameras, and there's no reason why they can't add a little layer of AI to that. But we know all this stuff is programmed by humans, and humans are, you know, they're greedy. They can be psychopaths, and you get one that wants to look for their ex-girlfriend or their ex-wife. And we kind of saw that in Plainfield this week. You did say that you wanted Indy to become the smartest city in America, and that absolutely terrified me, because the thought that the government watching everything that I do, it really does scare me. Like, I don't have anything to hide, but I still love my privacy. So I think my question is right now is the hacking that we've been kind of occurring the last couple of years, especially in Indiana. We had Eskenazi get hacked in 21. We had the housing agency get hacked in October 22. And even earlier this year, or even a couple months ago, almost $1 million or 1 million people, Medicaid members, got hacked. So I know this is very early. There's no advisory board yet. You're still working on it. But what safeguards do you have in mind, since you're in the IT world? And can you answer it without saying we are going to talk about it or we are going to look into it?
so let me take you back a little bit farther to say how another reason why this started. So before I even came up with the idea to go to college, even, right, we had a gentleman come to our caucus and propose an idea to us. And he says, I want to implement this video solution and call it a community command center. And what that command center would do would have all these TVs in a room, and it would put this AI solution on top of cameras, and it would watch for crime before it happened. And my first thing out of my mouth was, I don't want a camera to watch me when I'm not doing anything wrong. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one who's thinking that right now. I said, but let's just go ahead and set that aside from now from a privacy perspective. But I said, just entertain me. How much? $3.2 million.
Oh.
I said, oh, okay. For what? He said, for a command center that would view Wayne Township. Speaking enough, John. I said, so $3.2 million for Wayne Township, and we get a camera system that watches people proactively and reports crime. I said, okay, so if I give you $3.2 million, or the city council gives you $3.2 million to build that, how do you sustain it? How do you keep the lights on? How do you keep it going? How do you have the people watching it? And he says, well, it's going to be so good, we're going to get the businesses to chip in and pay us every year to keep it operational. And I told the guy, I'll hold back his name just for privacy reasons. And I said, all due respect here, but I've had smaller cases where folks, they don't like speeding in their neighborhood, and we've petitioned together and we've got the approval to put in speed bumps. And when we've given them the approval, I turned back and I said, okay, now we got to pay for it. And they look back and say, what? We got to pay for it? I say, yeah, it's 10 grand to put them in. And they said, well, we don't want to do that. We just want speed bumps. And this is a prime case that I was trying to tell this gentleman that was proposing this to me was, there is no way you're going to get businesses to pay $3.2 million a year to keep this thing going. Again, privacy aside, let alone to build it 9 times, you're looking at $30 million. That's 10% of our overall IMPD budget. So that's actually what kicked off a lot of this, right? Where I actually went to a summit, and they were talking about smart campuses and smart cities. And I said, okay, well, I need to learn more. We need to learn more about this. And so, to your point, I'm going to answer your questions. I promise you I'm not dodging it. So from the first part of it, it's the first thing I wrote down was oversight, right? And again, I'm trying to make sure I answer this in a good way for you. We are going to be looking at many different things. So what we're going to do in this commission is we have 5 separate use cases that we're trying to outline. And I don't know what those use cases are quite yet. We're still trying to figure that out. So we have partner teams, core city teams, and core ancillary teams. Ancillary teams are your folks like DPW, BNS, and the kind of city services. The city core teams are people from the mayor's office, the city council, our legal, and then you've got the partner teams, which are all your tech people in the world. Right now, we have a company called Lenovo, a company called NVIDIA, Oracle, and Salesforce and Microsoft. So the goal is to take and view a use case to a solution and study each one of those for each month. At the 6th of we wrap it all up and actually present that solution. So during that time, when it comes to oversight, a determination can be that before any type of AI solution is implemented, there must be an oversight committee that oversees all of them. What else did I write down here? So from a smart city perspective, we write that. So are there smart cities today? Absolutely. So Barcelona is probably one of the smartest cities in the world today. And smart cities can be a varying degree of things. They can be using camera technologies. They can be using ways to reduce 911 call time, right? That's one of the biggest things I'm interested in right now is our average wait time for 911 calls is 6.5 minutes. If you call 911, you're waiting that much on a wait. We can reduce that in half, right? That's an example of becoming a smart city. We don't have to track faces with it, but to your point, when it comes to storing data as well, where is that data stored? There's many ways we can store data. We can store data on our private infrastructure. We can store data in the cloud. We can store data on suppliers' data centers. There's firewalls in place for all that. There's things you can do to protect it from a security standpoint. You're always at risk, right? That's just any IT solution. You're always going to be at risk, but you can put in as many best practices beforehand. We can create ordinances to protect city private or individuals' private data. So if, say, we go to create some solution or the city administration goes to create a solution, they have to abide by an ordinance that the city council makes on protecting personal identifiable information. So all of these are all things that we can do in this process, but we don't have any determinations right now because we are in the second week of planning the first meeting that kicks off in January. So what we do have is a framework of what we're looking to study, what we're looking to design, but we don't have a first meeting yet, right? That first meeting will be at the end of January. It's either going to be the 30th or 31st. Public notice will go out on it, in due time. And then we'll do that 5 times and ultimately wrap it up on the 6th. So, it's hard to really, answer the question without, kind of saying this is what we can do because we're still in the planning phases of what we can do.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Slick Whitty will be watching the meetings when he can, because it's like you got now. Let's tell our viewers a little bit about your venture here. I think I saw a little bit of on YouTube. It's sort of like Mystery Theater 3000, where they sit there and talk about the thing. So tell us about your venture here, and are you going to keep doing it?
Oh yeah, I'm going to keep doing. This was actually a plan I was going to do last year, but I just didn't have the time and I didn't know how exactly I wanted to do it. I think people are really missing out on going to city council meetings. I know I've only been to a handful of them just because it's hard to go find parking. It's hard to find time to do it after work. The city council meetings are a different time compared to the committee meetings. And I think people are missing out, but some of them are so long and they're really boring. And I can only imagine, like Michael Paul Hart, you were in 2 of them in the last month that were like almost 5 hours together. But so like if you throw in a little bit of more, I don't know, a fun, jokey stuff, or you tell us like Larry Vaughn, he was at one of them. You know who I'm talking about too. And, like that guy's a character. I think people are missing out on him, and he goes to most of them. So I try to explain people who they are, and like try to help people understand some of the local politics, so they get a little bit more excited. And really, the end goal is to get more people informed of what's going on in Indy. I mean, we saw in this last election just the low voter turnout, and mostly it's because people didn't know what was going on. So if you get people more paying attention to the city stuff, and you get a little bit more face time on the elected officials, and we have a whole batch of crew coming in next year that who knows what's going to happen, because you have all these wildcats, one of them being Jesse Brown, and people really should start paying attention of what's going on locally and what's happening during these committee meetings. Sometimes it's a little bit of fun, but yeah, I'm going to keep doing
where,
them.
where we find that on YouTube? What's it called? If you were looking up on YouTube,
it's just that my ad, it's Whitty Indy.
Whitty Indy. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
If you want to start, you can check out that. He's got one on there now, and just like I said, Mystery Theater 3000.
I got a couple of shorts too.
Yeah, so you just check it out, and if you it's for us lazy folk that can't go down and can't find the thing and all that. But before we get to Brad and his questions, we do People Over Politics polling, and this was our poll question for this week. Do you think AI has a place in government? We had 32 voters. Yes, 22. No, 44%. We'll have to see 13%, and it scares me 21%. So almost a quarter of our people on that poll are scared of it. The Twitter poll, we only had 9 voters, but 0 said yes. 78% no. We'll have to see 11% and not sure 11%. So that's sort of what the public is thinking of, at least the Facebook and Twitter fans. They're always a little different on their results. So Brad, what would you like to say, Wolverine?
Well, it sounds like to me like we're at a point, like the conversation they should have had at the beginning of Jurassic Park, about whether or not they should just stop doing what they're doing, and like why, like what is the point of the AI? Like what is the is it nothing but the profit over the for efficiency and money? And if that's the case, then if it's for, Slick was just talking about putting people over, trying to get people involved while we're simultaneously trying to eliminate people from, interacting with each other or whatever. That's the thing too, is I don't know what the total fears of AI is or would be. So is it just the, what we're talking about with surveillance? Because I kind of already feel that we're there on that. I always go back to the October 7th thing in Israel, and they had the satellite video of the attack, and I'm like, how? And it was an awful thing to see. And then I was like, how the hell did they get that video? Where is this? And they could just zoom in. It's nothing. So I don't know at what point, where do we start getting more scared about AI? I don't know where the fear is, I guess.
I think you're sort of saying like a Big Brother. This is a George Orwell Big Brother. What's going to happen with all this? You give an inch, takes a mile. Is that sort of what you're looking at? Where does it stop? Where does it start? And I guess that's looking at it from a, further back than I
wouldn't infect the government. Lucy's, I feel like she doesn't want it in the government whatsoever. Yes. All right. So what's the biggest fear of having it even, contribute in the government?
Well, it's funny you should ask. Hold on. Let me help you with that, because we'll go back to the deal here, let's add this back in again. Let's get everybody in the right spots. Okay, yeah, you're good. I'll go ahead and ask the question here. The question is, what is the downside of AI in government? Well, let's just go ahead and do another one here. So we'll just let it going.
And that's what I mean. It just seems like, at least with this, it just seems like it is a tool. So it's going to be used by humans either as quickly, and we're going to use it as we wish, I would think.
Yeah. So you got privacy concerns, which, the privacy you're talking about, bias and fairness, who's actually doing the IA, transparency and accountability, job displacement. If we got cars that automatically drive themselves, how's that going to work out? Security risk, can it be hacked? Lack of regulation. Public trust and perception. And I think that our poll showed that that's a problem. Financial investment and resources. How's that going to work? Limited accessibility. You can't really get to this to change it. Maybe it's like a Wikipedia gone wild. Ethical considerations. And one of the other things that I would look at here is the fact that we'll get lazy. We'll get lazy. We'll just rely on this. Like maybe we're not so good in math because we got calculators.
So John, then, so like why keep going? Like, were those 11 things not enough to just go, hey?
I didn't put in what's the good.
Yeah, no, do that. It's like I like there needs to be that argument.
Okay, let's see what it says for that. So let's go over here. I got to click a couple buttons.
Like how would AI improve the government? Like, I don't know.
I'm going to put upsides.
I don't know what that would look like either.
I kind of see what Brad is saying too. I mean, one of the things I think Michael Paul Hart talked about too is automation and how we can utilize that. You were talking about the calls for dispatch. One of the things in my videos that I talk about is like, well, how are you going to automate it? Is like, are you going to tell them like, what's the degree of your emergency at a level of 1 to 9? And can the AI pick up if you have like a migrant that's speaking Spanglish or like can barely speak any English?
So here you go. It's coming out. I feel like this is what was that movie, Willy Wonka or something that had you put in the Mike TV or whatever. So here you go. You got improved efficiency. That's what Michael's after. Enhanced decision making, cost savings, citizen services engagement. This is sort of stuff. Public safety. Now that's going to probably involve that $3.2 million camera system. Data analytics and policy insights, streamlining administrative procedures, job losses. I just said that. Predictive maintenance. I would say, how about stoplights? Let's put some AI on stoplights. I sit at stoplights all the time thinking, why is it not changing? Healthcare, custom public services. So it just pretty much lists all the things you can think of.
Only 4, 5, 10, and 11 involve people. All the other ones are about profits and efficiency and, the bottom line.
So with city government, right? In the private sector, right? They're trying to make money. On our side of the house, where we share similarities, is that, and I say the government side is, we all lack people, right? I can pick any department. I mean, we can even pick inspectors, right? Your shortage of inspectors, your shortages of
CPS.
People everywhere. And so the value being, how can we take where we need people, but we only have 7, how can we make those 7 people as efficient as 10? And then the budget that we had for 10, how can we shift that to roles that you can't offset with any type of AI technology, like say a truck driver or a mechanic or something along those lines, or a fireman or a police officer, and then reallocate those dollars as a cost saving measures to now start improving your recruitment plans, improving your retainment plans, and hiring. So that's really the efficiency standpoint and cost savings, is that you're not ever making money as a city government. I mean, the administration,
ain't that the truth?
That they spend it all, right?
I think I need to jump in. Yeah, I think I need to jump in here a minute, because I really love what Brad said about, we never considered whether or not we should, just that we could. I don't think any of us want to be Luddites. Like, I really enjoy being in a car and having this, awesome seat warmer. So we don't want to go back to that. But once again, what this does is it shifts the power away from the individual human being, concentrates the power into a smaller number of people. And I'm sure that you're not a psychopath, Michael. However, most people that are drawn to positions of power work to get there because they literally are psychopaths that want to rule other people. And so if you're, we're talking about all the different functions that you just mentioned about government, how many of those were outside the bounds of the Constitution, both federally and state of Indiana? So now we have a way to more efficiently suppress citizens and free speech. And I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I want to point out that everything that you just gave us through ChatGPT, John, is all garbage in, garbage out. ChatGPT is woke. You only get the data that serves the people who own the platform. So until we have open source, which Elon seems to be very much trying to do with X, until you have true open source, transparency, informed consent, all of this does is make it easier for the suppression of the citizenry and the culture shifts that serve the profits of of the people that own the platforms. So I would
sounds
like
like
to
a Bond
see,
villain would be
yeah,
created from this.
yeah.
You know?
You know what I would really like to see? I would really like to see Indianapolis city government say, you know what, we recognize the dangers of this, so we are preemptively going to make sure that our citizens are not part of a smart city, that our citizens are not going to be put into a 15-minute city and suppressed in any way, and then have a list of rules that can't be broken before it even starts. But here's the dirty secret. If you saw Joe Rogan interviewing Elon Musk, it's clear from what Elon said that we are so far beyond too late. Too late. It's too late. It's already the Terminator. I'm just hoping to live out my
Yeah.
life in the woods and make sure that my kids live. That's really what I'm doing. I'm trying to survive and make sure that we live, because it is going to be Terminator Judgment Day.
So I got
And
a
it's too
couple.
late.
So one, I came at this originally as a position of like, it's coming. There's no, I mean, that, like, to your point, right? This train is going, and we have an opportunity, at least this on the council. And this was my position, is the administration is there in the city of Indianapolis. They can do what they want to do from implementation of technology, as long as that technology board ultimately approves it, right? We're giving them budgets every year for softwares and development, and they have the money to do it. So at least from our perspective, where I was trying to start this conversation is, if we're going to do it, because it's coming, we have to do it in a smart way. And so smart city is used in multiple ways now, like smart, that we're using technology in an educated fashion to respect the Constitution and people's privacy rights. But two, we're using it in a way to where we have the realities of the shortages of people and a limited budget, to say the least. But how can we make those things to the best of our advantage? Now, when it comes to surveillance, one of the things I always like to point out, because it's tough, but we all carry these in our pocket, and those things track
Voluntary
so
versus involuntary. Plus, you wouldn't need the budget and you wouldn't need the people if you were stepping outside the bounds of the Constitution. I was explaining to my daughter tonight, who's sitting next to me. She's very much a young, modern 10-year-old who is pro-female, talked a lot about, inequality today. And what we discussed was the culture shift that happened in the 40s when the U.S. government wanted more tax dollars. And they saw that 50% of adults were sitting home and not producing revenue that could then be stolen. And so it also was convenient to take women out of the home, not only to tax them, but to also take the parental influence and control and then center that into the government. So everything that you allow to happen that goes beyond the limits of the Constitution will just further this culture shift. And it's terrible.
I do think that it seems like, hold on, Brad. I want to play small talk real quick, because this is sort of how the AI conversation is going to go. There's just so many different ways this could go. There's like 20 rabbit holes here that we could go down. Well, speaking of rabbit holes, let's see what Mark Small's rabbit hole is this week on the small talk. And I think you'll find that he's covering a lot of stuff you've already asked.
Hi, I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk. When you think about what videos show, it's like Neanderthals looking across a stream and seeing these smooth, odd creatures, not nearly as much hair as them, walking around. They thought, who are they? Actually, they were looking at the next step in evolution. Now, fast forward to where we are today. We're looking at the next step in evolution. It's artificial intelligence, and there's nothing artificial about it. So if you look at how fast things have developed, 4,000 years ago, we domesticated horses. 200 years ago, we actually were using steam to go kind of faster than like maybe 25 or 30 miles per hour. And now we go to outer space. There are different laws and rules to describe how fast knowledge increases and the speed of our computers increases. But if you look at Deep Blue, the IBM computer beat the world champion in chess in 1996. 2012, the master in Go, it's an Oriental game, lost to Deep Blue. And if you think about the sizes of computers, now everything's shrunk and everything's going real fast. And then you look at robots and you look at people on TV that turn out to be not people. They're just images. Now look, we have to look at what's happening right now and realize People are losing jobs because machines are replacing people. And it's not turning out real well for people who say, well, they're just an adding machine. Yeah, an adding machine that is fantastically fast. And remember that it's not just that. Look at a new thing that has happened. It's not all that new, but it's Bose-Einstein. It's a theory that is turned into reality, that one molecule can exist in 4 or 5 places simultaneously. Think about the implications of that on creating a computer, and it ain't artificial. Peace, love, happiness. Mark Small Talk.
Yeah, and I would say that our computer systems is binary, just uses zeros and ones. Just think that our creator has infinity. So I just want to, a little religion there on something about, just think if you just put one more number, you put 1, 2s and zeros in there. It's just amazing what you think could happen. So, I mean, is this thing going to go out of control? I mean, it
already is. It's too late. It's already too late.
So, okay.
It's already too late. We already
Lucy's,
have DARPA. Everybody knows DARPA, right? The defense industry working with Google. They already have dogs. They already have robots that can go around and be armed to kill you.
Can we defend ourselves against them?
No.
Why
Come
not?
on, get out of here.
Well, I'm a libertarian, so people think I'm extreme because I think that as a citizen I should be able to own any kind of weaponry that the government owns. But the fact of the matter is, I'm popping at a tank. I mean, what are these things made out of? My AK-47 is not going to have armor-piercing bullets that are going to take out these things. And who would even know that they're there? They're going to come out of the sky as a drone. Right?
As a bird.
Directed energy weapons. I don't have a blue roof on my house. And so the directed energy weapon is just going to vaporize me and my family.
Right. All right. Before we get to the conspiracy part of the show, let's underail this train. Brad, what do you say to that?
I kind of look forward to the moment where I'm always on the lookout for battling like a droid that just pops out of the sky.
That's easy for you to say, Wolverine. It's easy for you to say.
Yeah. Who's going to say I can't?
I don't know. So this just leads to me a question because we just don't know so much about this. So Michael, how hard of a sell do you think this is going to be to the folks here? I mean, is this going to be dipping your toe in the pool water? Are we just going to jump all the way in? What's your strategy on selling this?
Yeah, so my strategy is this, right? I mentioned those 3 teams, and that doesn't include the commissioners. So what I'm looking at from a commissioner standpoint is to have folks that have varying backgrounds of expertise to do exactly what you're doing, poke holes in these proposed solutions so that we as counselors can learn from that and start creating preventative measures, whether it's ordinances or whatever it might take locally, but can also share that with our state folks to say, look, here's what we thought about doing, or here's what some tech company told us would be a good idea, but here's what people with privacy backgrounds had to say about it. Here's what civil attorneys had to say about it. Here's what a cybersecurity analyst expert had to say about it, to where we actually look at that whole solution from varying backgrounds and then ultimately create that report. So what we are looking at, though, on a lot of these solutions are what we're considering low-hanging fruit, right? The stuff, the generative stuff, we're not going there, right? The real complicated, privacy violating, or we don't even want to go there, right? I think some of the most advanced things that we've mentioned, even using cameras, are installing cameras on trash trucks that look down to identify potholes. That way we can map them out in real time and not have to wait for somebody to take a picture and send it to us. So that's been one of the most advanced things that involve cameras that have come up. I will say I had a conversation with an advertising company about kind of this, and we weren't talking about using AI for advertising. We were just having coffee and we were kind of talking about this commission and everything. And, we were talking about stoplights actually, John, because that actually comes up a lot when I talk to people.
Smart stoplights. They got them in the Philippines.
They're like, I just want to go from one side of 10th Street to the other in 20 minutes, right? I hear that stuff. And it is possible. We can use the technology to improve the traffic flow. But when I was telling this guy from the advertising company about that, he said, Mike, I buy data from the cellular providers that tell me a lot more about you and everybody else that you're ever going to get from a camera on a traffic light, based on, you know, what you're looking at, you know, in your search history, where you're at geographically, it heat maps all that, you know. So there's more data and privacy concerns coming from the cell phones and the applications that we use and that's coming from the experts that buy these things. So, you know, my concern would be, you know, of what we're focused on, low hanging fruit, those RPAs, bottom of the barrel. But throughout this process, it is a learning opportunity for everybody, right? Both anybody in the city who wants to be a part of it, it is open to the public. Anybody in the commission members itself, the report will be public. But this is a big opportunity to learn and get ahead of, instead of just jumping into the ocean head first and just starting out without being any level of preparation.
Yeah, but that's how government works. We just throw it out on everybody and then see, you know, like Nancy Pelosi says, we'll have to pass it to see what's in it. So Slick Whitty, are you formulating some more questions?
I keep thinking of like the oversight and the safety of it. Like, for example, this advisory board is going to go off. You're going to study it for until next year. But what about after that? What about, like, I have to imagine that not all of you guys are going to be like Monroe Gray and be in office for 20 plus years. So like having safeguards for the next advisory board of recognizing that they can only go so far. We're like, here's the line that we can't cross, and you're going to have to do some major legislation to even cross that line, or proposals, or have a whole room full of psychopaths that are able to bypass some of those laws. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I keep thinking about. Or like, I mean, I'm thankful that this is all going to be public knowledge. It's all going to be recorded, and we can go back and watch it and ask questions. And you seem to be very available, where we could email or call you with questions that we have.
Absolutely. I mean, this has come up a couple times, having the advisory board, because I mean, we have a contracts board, right? So we can't just go forward with projects. We have to get those approved first. So there absolutely can be an additional oversight committee. That is 100% on the table. And there's going to be a lot of ideas over the next 6 months. So this just runs from January and 6 months forward. So it's going to be rapid fire over the next 6 months. But after that, you're right. It is what? Do we leave it up to the people on the IT board, or what do we do from there? Right. You raise some really good points. I completely agree. And that's why I'm trying to get ahead of this and be proactive, like most of the things I do, instead of waiting for the city to do something and say, well, I didn't want that. But when that happens, it's too late.
Yep. So, Michael, how do your other colleagues feel about this stuff? I mean, you're up to 6 whole Republicans on the council now. So I know you guys are like loud and proud, but how does the other side see this? Are you getting any, kickback from any specific people, or are they just sort of wait and see? What's the attitude of your colleagues?
I think it's positive. I mean, they at least approved it, right? So, I mean, coming from 6 out of 20 or 5 out of 25 at that time, and they said they were on board. I think the most vocal about it was Councilor Dan Boots, who is interested from a very privacy. He's into the same kind of boat as me, to say, hey, look, we got to get ahead of this before it gets ahead of us as best as we can. I mean, to Lucy's point, it's already ahead of us, right? There's no doubt about that. But let's not let it get any farther before we start as a city implementing these things. Talking to President Osley and Leader Lewis, they were supportive in the committee on it. The one thing I joked with them on was, I asked to be the chairman of this committee, and I got some giggles out of them. So I'm sure hopeful that I become that, because I'd be interested to see somebody else trying to put this thing together, and any less time than between now and January 31st. There's a ton of work that goes into this. I have at least 5 meetings a week on this that are either 30 or an hour long, either with various partner teams or core city teams, or bringing these folks together, or chasing down legal to talk about questions. So, I'm spending a considerable amount of time to try and make sure that, I'm doing my duty as an elected official and doing what I was elected to do. So I'm sure as heck, trying to make sure that I'm doing all the right things to get us in the right position, but I'm sure I'm going to miss something, right? I'm not perfect. I recognize that. There's going to be something I said, I wish I would have known that beforehand, but that's always going to be the case. So, having these conversations are good. I mean, even with, folks like you and folks on both sides, honestly, you guys have probably heard me say it before. I'm as pragmatic as they come. I think local government, it should be about operations, should be about making sure the water's drainage trash is getting taken out and the police are paid, right? So I don't think many things I do are very political because we're operational. So that's how I've tried to maintain it. It's been going pretty well so far. I'm actually quite pleased with the mayor's office and how receptive they've been to me. And just for example, like when I say I need a meeting with the assistant chief of police, I'm there in a day, right? When I say I need a meeting with the Office of Corporate Counsel, the head attorney for the city of Annapolis, I have it in a couple hours. I mean, so it's actually been very refreshing coming from the mayor's office, and that they've been very, very open and helpful in providing access to the right people at the right time and giving me the information that I've needed to this point.
Yeah, as I said at the start of the show, you're one of the hardest working counselors, very accessible, and I'm a big fan of accessibility. If you can't get a hold of your guy, it ain't no good for you. So, well, we're gonna wind this thing up here. And anybody have any more burning questions here or comments that they want to give here? I'll give you. We'll start from Brad and go down the line.
I guess if AI is like here to stay, what is like the best prospect for it to be used in government? Like, in your opinion, I guess.
I lean towards public safety right now because I think that's our biggest crisis in the city. I don't think it stops people from murdering people, right? Because that's a human judgment. You can't do that. But I think there's some real opportunities out there to improve response times. These things do involve cameras, though, right? I mean, you can identify smoke and automatically send out a fire truck to put out a fire instead of waiting for somebody to call. You can identify if somebody's been hit by a car, nobody's there to call. You can send out EMS and paramedics.
That could save a lot of lives. Slick Whitty, that could save a lot of lives.
Yeah, and most everybody's got a Ring doorbell. Let's just connect that to AI, and man, we're good. Put some machine guns on there, right? And just
Lucy.
Like Lucy. Lucy, you don't have any big Ring doorbells out there. All right. So what say you, Slick? You just got called out by Brad, the lone Democrat. He said you're crazy. I think that's what I heard in there anyway.
Well, no,
I'll take it. That's a compliment.
I just want
to. I remember listening to the council meetings, and they were talking about human capital. It's a hard time right now trying to find people that are going to fill these jobs in government. What do you think the kickback will be from some of these humans when they find out that their job is going to get replaced by AI?
I don't think it's in a different place. So there's a theory out there. I'd recommend you Google it, and it's called a human in the loop, meaning that the human doesn't get removed from the process. We just add the artificial intelligence algorithm to the process. So you can't get rid of the human. You're just making the human more efficient. Again, we always have so much budget for so many people, but we just never fill that amount of people. So the goal being, how can we just go ahead and make those people as efficient as 10, that we don't have to worry about hiring 10, because you can pick every department in the city. I honestly can't think of one that doesn't have a shortage of individuals at this time.
Yeah, I mean, the police are down. I know that business neighborhood services is down. Health, I mean, they're all struggling for
Shelters,
for people to work. Yeah. So, all right. Well, hey, Lucy, you're going to wind it up for us, and we're going to the conspiracy theory, and I'm definitely using the GPT chat for that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm sure the chat GPT is going to have a great conspiracy theory for us.
Oh, yeah. Wait till you hear the
I would just make an appeal to you, Michael, to do whatever you can, as I feel like you've got a really good heart. You want to protect the citizenry. It's kind of hard to, once the cat's out of the bag, right? You can't get him back in. The chicken's already flown the coop. It's too late. So now we have to do damage control and figure out how we can protect individual humans. So I would just like to know, is that something that's on your radar and your personal heart, is to figure out how to protect your fellow citizens?
Absolutely. And that comes back to the story I told you the first time about the guy trying to bring in the camera system to identify people. And my first knee-jerk reaction was, I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you looking at me? And I don't think, we have our right to privacy, right? Number one. And that is something that should not be violated by any level of government for anything. So that is first and foremost in my mind when looking at any one of these types of solutions. So that is it is forefront of every decision that I'm making when moving forward with AI.
All right. All right. Well, I think it's helped me some on this. And I do appreciate the fact that there's just all different kinds of levels of AI and having cameras and images involved is a lot different than type that we've been messing around with tonight. But anybody wants to go out, you can just download that GPT chat and you can have fun with it. You can ask it all sorts of questions. It's not quite as good as the Magic 8 Ball though. I did ask the GPT if it was accurate, and it said no, it's just basically a novelty and don't rely on it. But on this show, it's 95% right. So I just have to say that. So Michael, we appreciate you coming on. Are you going to stick around for the conspiracy theory? You don't have to have one. You can just stick around and laugh at us, or you're interested. Okay, yeah, that you got 4 more years for this to go away. All right, so it won't ruin your career quite yet. You can still have a political career. So, all right, everybody, get ready put your hats on. Michael, you're not on the hot seat anymore. That's good. So here you go.
Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out and let's see what's going on this week.
You're not supposed to be on the hot seat. What's up? I pushed the wrong button. That's terrible. Let's see about this. Oh, that's bigger. Oh, look at Slick Whitty. So Tiffany told me today around 3:00 that she couldn't make it. And I texted Slick and he's got a tinfoil hat. He's too dedicated to the show, almost as dedicated as Lucy and Brad. But you've been on a couple times. That's it. But so let's do this. Let's go to the chat here to start this thing off. And I will put the next question in there. And that's going to be list conspiracy theories that have come true. Let's see what it has to say, folks. I don't know if it's going to stop. Okay, that's interesting. One of the things that learned is that
I didn't see the 2020 election.
If I tell you, if you do it again, before it
Biased
had
programming.
Operation Paperclip on there, Lucy. On my first one, I did the test run on this, but yeah, that's pretty interesting. You have Watergate scandal initially dismissed as a conspiracy, and then Mockingbird, CIA, 50s and 60s, Tuskegee syphilis studies. Now that one's sad and bad. This counterintelligence FBI stuff. So I mean, hey,
No MK Ultra. What's going on?
Which one are you talking about there?
It's listed. Yeah, MK Ultra. Scroll up.
Oh, it is in there.
Yeah, it's in there.
I got my McVeigh glasses on.
Human studies, mind control. Mind control. What? That sounds.
But I didn't see the Manhattan Project. I didn't see Operation Paperclip. I didn't see any of the really good ones.
It was.
Oh, was it?
On.
Okay.
It was on my on the when I did it earlier. That one came up first. I thought at least see, but
so you can to give you 7 more, and it'll give you 7 different ones.
Well, yes, it will. Let's see. Let's do it again, and it will see what happens there. So that gives you the thing. There's Operation Paperclip this time. Manhattan Project. I think AI is watching our show. I'm not sure. There's Snowden on there, Edward Snowden, and so that's pretty wild, isn't it? It's so you put the same thing in twice and the same thing doesn't come up. That's what. And then it mentioned the 2 things you just said, Lucy. You are being watched. You are suspect number 1. So I don't know. It's just sort of crazy, isn't it? So that's my conspiracy theory, that AI is listening to what Lucy says. I did ask it about Spirit Airlines, and it had no comment. So I asked it if Tiffany and Bigfoot would ever get married, and AI did not know either of those people. I'm surprised they didn't know Tiffany, but they had no comment on personal relationships or what happens in the future. So, Lucy, what conspiracy fact do you have? Because I think I'm just name this to the factual part.
So, for a little bit of context, for those of you who don't know, there's this place called CERN, CERN, underground tunnels between, I think it's Switzerland and France. And one of the most exciting, I mean, just unbelievably wonderful entertainment value is if you go look at the opening of CERN, where you see the various satanic rituals that are enacted and the effigies of human sacrifice to open up this supposed scientific research facility. So, with all of that set up as context, my conspiracy fact for today centers around a young man who is reported to be, the most intelligent young man, of our current society, who claims that his theory, so I'm going to give you his theory, is that in 2008, CERN, that the scientists there accelerated some particles and they ran into each other, and it shifted the atomic weight of just a single molecule enough to throw us into an alternate universe, and thereby explaining the Mandela effect and why some of us remember the monocle on the Monopoly guy and some of us don't. Some of us think that Mandela died, some of us don't. Berenstain Bears versus Berenstain Bears. There's various things in the Mandela effect. So I think what this really boils down to is just a confirmation that we are living in the Matrix.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard for me to believe that, although I wish the Matrix wouldn't make my back hurt. But anyway, it does. So I know you only had like hours to prepare, Slick, but what do you got? I bet you have something. You probably have 2 or 3 and ready to go.
I had a whole Rolodex of them, but I wanted to make sure that nobody was going to get in trouble. So all the elections have come and passed now. In a few weeks, everybody's going to be getting sworn in. My conspiracy theory is that Mayor Hogsett will retire within the first year or two of getting sworn in and be replaced with AI.
Well, I saw somebody commented on my Twitter feed there. It's like artificial intelligence. We're just going for some human intelligence in the elected offices. I said, no offense, Michael. I mean, they weren't talking about you, obviously, but yeah, that's a pretty good local theory you have there. So, Brad, what do you got for us?
Well, my theory revolves Kid Rock and Bud Light again, because if you saw in the news, Kid Rock had he ended his boycott of Bud Light because in the past he had boycotted it because
he actually shot it. I remember him shooting it with a machine gun.
He was mad because Bud Light presented one can to one specific can that it made, not a whole, different slogan or different ad campaign, just one can. They all boycotted it, and then I think he's going on tour next summer, so he's probably gonna need or just appreciate that kind of support, I think. Also, this kind of ties in with this was my first conspiracy theory, I think, because it was right around this time. I first thought that he boycotted Bud Light and bought a bunch of stock in Modelo because Modelo had shot up. And now I think he's buying his Bud Light stock back because it's
at a lower price. I mean, who knew it? He just looks like a dumb rock and roll guy, but he's a financial genius.
Market. Look at him.
Yeah,
go.
it's good. Yeah, Bud Light's coming back a little bit. I mean, hey, it's up to about $14 a case now instead of $8. It's really moving up on the ladder there. I wonder what Peyton Manning would think because he bought a bunch of that stock and that's the only beer he drinks. And then Dana White with the UFC, he's signed him up again. So, I think the message was sent. It's okay. Everybody get your Bud Light and drink it. It's all good. It's beer's beer. Don't get down in the dumps. Don't be crying in your beer, all that stuff. So, Michael, you got a chance here to do a conspiracy if you'd like.
I'm terrible at these things.
You can see we're not any very good at it.
I don't know. I was trying to, I was too entwined actually listening to people, but I never actually consider them. I'm so pragmatic as a human being. I get focused on 10 and 2, and I just focus on getting tasks done. That I guess I don't let my mind wander enough to figure out what.
Thank God for people like you, because otherwise,
too many rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Michael, I'll help you out. We'll go one more time to the conspiracy theory here. Let's see what you got. I didn't even spell
It's
conspiracy
smarter
theory
than
right.
the 8-ball.
Give us, you want that one? No, we'll give us a conspiracy theory. Okay, sure. One example. Oh, the moon landing is a hoax. There you go. Oh, you want to see the magic 8-ball? Oh, look at this terrible spelling. Okay, is the magic 8-ball accurate? Let's see what it says. If you have important decisions to make or need accurate information, it's recommended to rely on more reliable sources, expertise, or critical thinking than the novelty item, the magic 8-ball. So there you have it, folks. That is one more thing. Oh, while we're at it, I still have one more to do here. This is the last of the thing, and this is my last question is going to be this right here. Let's put it down here. You'll get a chuckle out of this. This was actually Adams Harvey's idea. I wanted to thank the Mouthwash Talk Show viewers for watching the show tonight as Donald Trump. So here you go. Here's what you get. So, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very, very much. It's been tremendous on the show tonight, the Mouthwash Talk Show, the best show in the world. Everybody's talking about it. We've got the best viewers, tremendous viewers. Nobody has better viewers than we do. So there you go. That's our ending for the show tonight. And we've had a ball with this. And Michael, you've been a tremendous sport coming on to this fabulous show that will probably ruin your political career. So we appreciate it. We appreciate it. So we'll see you next week. Hey, Michael, you might want to tune in next week. We have a guy coming in that actually testified for January 6th committee. And he was actually the cybersecurity for the symposium that My Pillow guy put on. And he got himself in enough hot water he had to move. He may be disguised. We'll see.
I thought about my conspiracy theory for him.
Okay, it's too late. Bye. What show's over? Sorry.
That they actually let you prepare for the questions before the show.
That is, no one prepares for anything on the show. I mean, we get on about 3 till and just let her rip. That's how we do it. So we got great audience viewers that like to see this train wreck every week. And we appreciate you being on. So let me see if I got the right ending here. Yep. All right, there we go. Hey, Michael, thanks a lot. Brad, thanks as always. Lucy, Slick, we'll see you again sometime. You didn't do a bad enough job for you to get this banned. You got banned from Twitter on a couple of accounts, but you're still good here.
Well,
so we'll
back at trying.
We'll see y'all next week. Peace and out.
Yes, now I can go.